Yes.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
testing here.
Yeah. I'm just admitting everyone. Just hold on.
Yeah, while Sumesh,
Yeah.
while others join in, I would like you to cover a few aspects for budding people. And
Budding.
these are more questions from my side.
Okay.
First one is the use which your personal preferences based on your personal experience. Whether crop sensor is better or full frame is better. Whether zoom lens is better or prime is better. And how do you manage the weight of your gear, especially when you use air travel, like in aircraft?
Okay.
This is one of the biggest challenge I'm facing with my Wimberley and Gitzo and my Canon gear. You must have
Yeah.
been in a similar situation, definitely.
There may be very funny solutions from my side, but we can have a discussion.
As long as the work is not funny, they are effective.
No, I mean, yeah, effective. But the thing is, yeah, I think Libin is back. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm just because there are some private chats to me. So because they lost the second link, so just sending it.
Okay. I think probably. Good morning, Dharmaji.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Good.
Long time.
Yeah, after a long time. Last time during that session, I think Prakashji's session, you were there.
Yeah, actually, I was side by side. I was doing office work also, so I didn't switch on the video.
Yeah. I saw that one.
So, how are things?
Going on. Just enjoying.
Okay, this question even I was supposed to ask what Nagaraj was asking, because this time I had a tough time when I went to Bandipur with that 500 mm lens.
Okay.
Carrying it from Muscat and bringing it back was a tough time.
Okay.
So, air travel, how do we manage? That is another big question only.
Okay. I think, see, I mentioned this when you join, use your name, because I can see in one number, sometimes iPhone, just for the security purpose. So we know the people who are joining. I think, Sumesh, we are good to start. Did you answer Shankar's question? I didn't.
We can answer it in the end.
That would be better, I think, Libin.
Yeah.
See,
Okay.
I'm getting.
I just use the time to put the questions to Sumesh. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That. I think I got a message from Dr. Siju. That means he is not able to join the second session. I just sent that link to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Dr. Mithun also sent me. So just share the link. So I think it should be okay.
Hi, Paresh.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Hi, Sumesh. Sunil here.
Yeah.
Good morning, Sunil bhai. I think all are in bedroom. Just wake up.
Yeah. I just woke up. I'll be very upfront. I just woke up, and
Because I have seen Michael also.
I would have slept till about 12 o'clock.
Yeah, I saw Michael also with the bedspread.
Sorry for the delay.
Yeah.
How are you? Nice session. Doing well.
Breakfast, I don't know.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Sumesh,
Yeah,
nice session going well, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prakashji.
Morning, Prakashji.
I think we are good to start. We have 40 members now, because we have this 40 minutes limitation every time. So,
Okay.
so Sumesh, you are asking, yes, we got an 40 minutes limitation. So in case we wanted more, this one, I can create another one. So
I think it's better.
Yeah.
Because, if the discussion it continues, then probably we will.
Yeah.
We have,
Libin, you don't need to create another meeting. You can just re-log in, leave the meeting, and then re-log in into the same with the same meeting ID.
Yeah.
You don't need to actually create another meeting.
And the same password.
Yes, you can
Yeah.
use the same password.
That is much more easier because you know what, you don't need to go for the second one. I was nearly searching 5 minutes to get that ID and password from the group.
Okay, I didn't try that, but we'll
No,
see.
it can be done. I have tried it before. That's why I'm
Yeah.
saying
Okay.
it is possible.
Okay. Let's try. Otherwise, in case you didn't see that, I will check the groups. You will get the new ID. Sumesh, did you send the new ID to Rajesh Krishna?
I sent that one.
Okay.
Rajesh, I have sent before, even before, and Dr. Siju also.
Dr. Siju, I think joined already.
He joined.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm here,
I'm
Sumesh.
there. Yeah. I'm there. Rajesh is also in.
Okay. Okay. So, Libin,
Yeah.
shall we start then?
Yeah, please.
You are recording it or?
Yeah, it's recorded.
Okay, fine. So now, so the first portion is already over. So if you require to have a small discussion about this one, or if you all are agree with my points, then probably we can move to second. So anybody, Vinod, you got any questions from anybody? Otherwise, we can move to second.
I'm sure there are some questions, but I think we can do it later, no? At the end? Because that could take some time.
Okay, fine. So let us move. So now, so the first portion is over. Now, let me just take you to the real ground scenario, how you perform a wildlife safari. So, because, instead of giving a lot of speeches about the wildlife, with the visualizing, so let us see what is happening in the field. So, this is one of my photography session. I mean, for one moment which I captured. It is happened in Tanzania. So you see, this is the subject, the leopard with a kill. It was there on top of tree. Probably I was one of the first vehicle. I mean, we were the first vehicle which reached that location. So you have seen a lot of vehicles. It arrived just after us, and they positioned much even near to the subject, much ahead to me. But I didn't push my vehicle to any of this portion. Why? I'm just going to explain that one. So this is the scenario which happened in Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. So I was with my two set of gears. One is D800 with 300 mm prime, and the other one is D4S with 600 mm. So why I positioned my vehicle here is because, if you see the structure of the tree and the position of the leopard with kill, see the leopard is going to, walk from here to this area, and it can go to any of these branches after its meal. After taking its meal. At the same time, leopard is going to position from there to facing towards this area. You can see the cursor movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the leopard is going to face towards this branch, and my position is perfectly positioned to take the pictures. So that is the reason why I positioned here. The other thing is, see, there is always possibility for leopard to come out after the feast. It can come out from all the way from here, and it can jump to the ground, and probably it can walk around. So there is always chances to walk away from us. But at the same time, there is a waterfront this area. I mean, left side there is a small water flowing, waterfront. So probably after the meal, it is going to walk and drink some water. So this was my prediction. This was the reason why I positioned my vehicle here. Okay, so now when you reach to real ground scenario with such a scenario, what you need to do is, first of all, you need to position your vehicle accordingly, the best possible for the best possible frames. See, I'm just put a quick note. What was my thought process? I just mentioned here. Position your safari vehicle according to the best possible frames. Second thing is, your choice of lens is going to be one of the biggest factor for wildlife photography. That is what I told you before. The quality of your gear and the reach is prime for a wildlife photography. Because if you position your car somewhere here, I mean, probably if you have off-road permit, you can go up to here. But if you position here, the thing is, you are going to disturb the subject, and the subject will not be at its comfort zone. So you will not get a real, habitat behaviors. Second thing, what you should do at this point is observe the movement of subject its activities through your viewfinder and be ready to capture the moment. Because, see, sorry. Okay, so yeah, be ready to take a picture. So see, the movement and the activities are very slow. It is the subject is showing their behavior very slow, but at the same time, it can happen anytime. So you need to be prepared enough to take a good picture. So again, the patience is the key for every good photos. So everything has its own time to happen. So don't get hurry, give plenty of time and be patient. Now, what happened next? See, this is the moment which I captured. Because the leopard, it lifted that prey and it positioned according to, once it finished one side of its fleshes, its prey fleshes, then it positioned and it changes, swap its position to other. So all these activities you can get from the same position. If you park your vehicle somewhere away, then you will not get all these sort of activities. So this is something which I captured initially. So again, my thought process and activities I just mentioned here. Quickly preview your capture, verify your RGB histogram, because the subject, you can see this thing, the background is completely sky cast. So you will not get a clear separation. The background is not very perfect background, but at the same time, this is what we can have the best thing. So the quick preview and you verify the RGB histogram and all. Zoom in and ensure the focus and sharpness is perfect. The proper depth of field is there, your settings. Then, you can check corner to corner, because see, you are going to be there for another 45 minutes or 1 hour or even probably more than that, because the activities is going to be there. So you need to ensure, once you are sure about all these things, like, the sharpness and the settings, and once you are comfortable with that one, after that, you just need to focus about only the subject, because this is going to be somewhere here around, only in this area. It is going to be there for 1 hour and you can observe so many activities. So that time, once you verify and ensure your camera settings are perfect, then you don't need to be worried about that. You can just focus on the subject itself. So this is thing. And again, this is the post-processing part. After getting this image, the picture, then the presentation part is something like you can do or you should do at your laptop or this thing. That is post-processing. That is not going to happen in field. You are okay?
Sumesh, can I throw a question here?
Yeah.
Can you show me one of your final pictures on this?
This is one of them. And from the same position, yeah, that is what I'm going to show. With the same position and same with set of gears, the following are my good pictures.
And just for 1 second, what about from your 300?
Yeah, I'm going to show that. Thanks, Rajesh, for my same mental, thought process you are also telling. Thank you for that. So these are the other pictures. See the behavior of leopard. This is their typical behavior. As long as they eat that particular prey, they just hang around with that prey in different, you can get different behaviors. So this is one of the typical behavior of leopard. See, as I told you, once it completes its meal, it is going to walk out from there. It is going to move from that area to take a rest. See, this is another one. So because it moved out from there and it is taking a place to take rest. And this is the picture which I took with 300 mm. So this is the complete habitat. So are you with me?
Yes, yeah, that makes sense.
So
Yeah,
this is the picture from 300 mm. So why? Because I was expecting from initial, from the starting itself, I was expecting the leopard to move to this branch or somewhere the other branches, because there are going to be a lot of flies around. So it will not get a proper sleep or proper rest in this area. So after the meal, it is going to move from here. At the same time, I missed one wonderful shot. So the jump from this branch all the way up to here, it jumped. So that point, that particular moment, I missed it because I was with my 600 mm that time. I got only that tail. So I missed, certain situation. We will miss some good pictures also. But this is all to see your thought. What I was trying to explain you is, this is the thought process you should have at field. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. At least your 300 picture, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But maybe, there are still compositions could vary from there. You could show the whole tree with the savanna. I mean, there are a lot
of possibilities there. Yeah.
Yes,
true.
yeah.
So because 300, the reach is only up to here. So if probably, as Rajesh told, if we have a 70-200 lens, probably we can get a much better habitat, complete the tree with its savanna, all these things you can get that. So especially this picture, it was a mobile click. So this is just taking this was not particularly took it to explain this scenario. It was just taken by my wife. So and just make use of that one for this demonstration.
Good one.
So now let me. So what I see, all these things what I was telling is nature's flashes of magic are short-lived and second chances are rare. That is the reason why we need to have the subject knowledge, proper subject knowledge, proper skill set, at the same time quality gears. So this is the reason why we, that movement, you cannot get it next time. So once it is happened, means it is over. That's it. Now let me just explain you my camera bag for a wildlife safari. See, this is the gears what I have. I'm normally I don't take everything along with my every safari. According to the requirement, I just take the required gears. This is all what I have for my photography. There are three bodies: D4S, D800, and D90. So D90 was my first camera. Which I, the one which carried myself to FSO. So now you can understand, my stepping ups. Now the latest, the biggest lens I have is 600 f4, and all other gears are, this is not required. So I'm not telling that these all gears are required to perform a wildlife photography. It doesn't mean that. I just showed up what is I have in my kit. See, as I told you, a 70-200 lens, and any lens with which can, like 400 or 500 mm, that two lenses is good enough to perform a wildlife safari in Kenya or Tanzania. So that is good enough. But this is what I have. Can I move? Now, let me just explain now about my wildlife photo tour experiences. I just categorized these things into two. One is the photography experience I had India and Oman as together, and the other one is anything out of India and Oman. Why it is categorized is because based on two, three factors. Number one is like, in Oman, I was there with the job reasons. I was there around Oman in Muscat. So having a photography session or a wildlife, visiting any any safari or photography park like Kuram or sea wetland, and it doesn't require any sort of preparation, much preparation. Just need to plan and go. That's it. So at the same time, in India, I just categorized these two together because these two doesn't require that much preparation. Second thing is, even if I missed one of my favorite shots or something, there is always possibility I can visit it again. And my access to these places was little bit more feasible. It was not a big exercise. That is the reason why I grouped these two into one, and anything out of these two I categorized as separate, because that required that I had to have a lot of plannings, because to getting the access, it involves more cost. So that those safaris I was not, I can't afford to compromise. That is the reason why I separated this. So let me just quickly take you through. So every journey is an experience. So even if it is in next to your home, that is also an experience. So I'm not degrading my trips or this thing within India and Oman, and outside these two is something different. No, not because of that. Only this is segregated as two because of the cost and my preparation. See, in India, I had my visit to Bandipur National Park. That was exclusively for mammals and birds. Sattal, Pankot, Nainital. These things I covered for Himalayan birds. Tattekad, which is in Kerala, which I had 2-3 times I have been there. It is for migratory birds. Then Nelliyambadi and Wayanad. This is also located in Kerala. This is high altitude birds and mammals. Mammals means the scope of mammals are very less, but still there is possibility to find. Then the Bharatpur, Rajasthan, it was for wetland birds. See, a lot of water birds used to come there in their migratory season. So that was one of my experience. Then Kabini, Masinagudi, and Nagarhole. These are the Karnataka. At least 3 or 4 times I've been to Kabini and Masinagudi also, and Nagarhole. So I put all these things in one group because I can afford to have some mistakes, and I can go these places second time because the access part is better. And again, last year I had my trip to Agumbe rainforest, which is in Karnataka. That was exclusively for amphibians and reptiles, snakes, and frogs. So this is the experience within Oman and India. Anything other than these places, it is first one, my Kenya visit, it happened in 2015 August. The purpose of that visit was the mammals, birds, and great migration. That was the reason. Sri Lanka in April 2016, I had been there. That was for mammals and birds. Again, Kenya and Tanzania, I've been to there in December 2016, which was for mammals and birds. The second trip to Kenya happened is because, in my first visit in August 2015, I missed Amboseli. And Amboseli is famous for, its elephants and, the majestic view of Mount Kilimanjaro and all. It is very famous, and a lot of wildscapes with elephants as foreground and background Kilimanjaro. So we can see a lot of pictures in internet. I was so fascinated about that one. So that is the reason why I took my second trip to there, and it started from Amboseli. Then by road, I traveled to Tanzania. In Tanzania, I covered different places by road. Like I crossed from Kenya to Tanzania through Namanga border. From there, I took Arusha, then Lake Manyara, then Gorongoro crater, then Serengeti, then all the way took a complete circle and joined there in Masai Mara. Then it came back to Nairobi. So that was a complete round trip that happened in December 2016, exclusively for mammals and birds. See, all these, my wildlife safaris or exploring any other country, I used to spend time for understanding the culture and interacting with the people, the portraits and culture photos and all. I used to do that, but I'm not bringing all those things into here for the discussion, because this session, this talk is exclusively for wildlife related. So that is the reason why I'm not discussing anything about those things. And even my pictures, the pictures which I am going to show is also not included any cultural their forms and the people photos, and not included that one, because I don't want to mess up with different areas. In June 2018, I've been to West Papua, that is Papua New Guinea, the one section of Papua New Guinea. This is West Papua. Now it is diplomatically, it is part of Indonesia. And the primary area of this West Papua is Arfak Mountains. Yeah, exclusively this trip was for capturing birds of paradise. So Arfak Mountain is the key area. And there are some other places like Jayapura, Raja Ambat and all. So those also part of West Papua. I mean, diplomatically, it is coming under Indonesia, even though the ecosystem is a little bit different, but this is coming under Indonesia. Now, again, the Botswana and Zimbabwe. I had this trip in August 2018. It was also for mammals and birds. Botswana is totally something different. See, at the end of the discussion, probably we can have a little bit time about these places, how it is different and all. So is it fair, or we need to discuss it now? I think it is better at the end. Right?
Yeah.
I think we could do it at the end.
Yeah, okay, fine. So Botswana and Zimbabwe, this was combinedly, I did it in August 2018. That was also for mammals and birds. Then in December 2019, the last December, I again been to Kenya for mammals and birds. So let me just quickly tell you this particular visit, like the Botswana and Zimbabwe. Dr. Siju also was with me. I mean, we had this trip together. And in August 2015, the Kenya visit, that time also Dr. Siju was with me. And the last trip to December 2019 to Kenya, that time the Dr. Mithun was there, and Dr. Askar. I am not sure he joined today or not. Mithun, he's here, joined?
Yeah, Dr. Mithun is here.
Yeah, okay.
No, I don't think that Dr. Askar is joined.
Okay. So I just wanted to introduce, because he is not into FSO, that's why I just asked Mithun. Okay, anyway, so
yeah, he got busy with his office.
Okay, so that time that happened in last December. These are the trips I had as far as wildlife photography concerned. Okay, now let me take you to show you my pictures. So I just categorized my all wildlife images into these different sections. Like, one is the aerial view. Second thing is the wildlife in habitat, emotions and expressions, behavior shots, action shots, portraits of wildlife, the wildscapes, and wildlife elusive. Elusive means it's the rarely visible, or like near to extinct. That sort of lot of species are there in even in Kenya and African countries which are about to extinct. So I just categorized all these things. So I mean to say, this elusive section, those pictures may not be very impressive, and may not be very quality images, but at the same time those subjects are extremely rare to find. So that is the reason why I just included those things. Now let me just take you to this. Yeah, this is the aerial view of Masai Mara. This one, I took this picture from balloon, hot air balloon, one early morning in 2015 August. So this is the way Masai Mara looks from top. There is Mara river, you can see. Lot of animals are walking. See, these are the river trails, the branches of different rivers, waterfronts. See, this you can see a small patch of Mara river here. So this is the way how it looks from top. This is the way the wildlife you can see from hot air balloon. Look at the majestic view, like so many different animals and mammals. It is mixed up. Zebras, wild beasts, these elands, toppies, so many wild species animals. It is, and this is the way it looks from top. How you can just imagine how good it is. This is the aerial view of Victoria Falls. This is which I took in last year, in 2018 August. This is the trip I was with. Dr. Siju and myself together. See, in this picture, I just wanted to explain to you. This is the See, this is the bridge which is connecting Zimbabwe and Zambia. So this portion is Zimbabwe, and this portion is Zambia. So this is the only bridge which is connecting between these two. There is a small checkpoint here, and there is a small checkpoint here. So you can just show your passport. You can get a temporary visa to visit this portion. This portion of Victoria Falls. You can see it. So why we selected? We didn't go to Zambia side, because the reason is 70% of the Victoria Falls it is visible from Zimbabwe side. And in August, it was the best season to visit Victoria Falls. That was the reason why we didn't go there. See, let me just quickly brief you how we, see this majestic view of Victoria Falls. You know that Victoria Falls is one of the 7 natural wonders. Hope you all know that. This is see the beauty of that one. The important thing is, it is not the longest fall, and at the same time, it is not the the highest fall, but at the same time, this is the biggest fall. The reason is because the waterfalls, it is calculated in according to its screen, the fall screen. The total area of falling. So when you compare the total area of falling screen, Victoria Falls is coming to the at number 1. So that is the reason Victoria, even though it is not the highest one, even though it is not the longest one, but it is the biggest one. So that is the irony about this one. So normally the Victoria Falls visit, it starts from this point. The exploring Victoria Falls, it starts from here, and all the way you can walk the bank of this gorge, and you can walk all the way up to here. This way, all these areas you can capture different views. The photographs you can take, and see from here you can see the rainbow falling this area, and again in this point you can see the rainbow against complete water screen. So many possibilities are there to take pictures. At the same time, there are a lot of wildlife in this area. So when we been to the chopper and a helicopter for the aerial photography, we have seen a lot of wild animals walking around this way. But unfortunately, we were not in good mood. Dr. Siju may be laughing at this time. I know that, because we all were about to omit because it was so, motion sickness, and we all were just, we don't know how we hold ourselves. We just wanted to finish it off. So that was the scenario. Anyway, so this is the view of Victoria Falls. And this is the another view of Victoria Falls and Zambezi River. So Zambezi River is the river which end up to Victoria Falls. So you know that the Zambezi River is the fourth longest river in Africa, and it is flowing through, if I'm not mistaken, it is flowing through 5 countries. Like it starts from Zambia, again it flowing to Angola, then Angola to Botswana, then Zimbabwe, and again after this big fall, it again flowing to Mozambique and then to Indian Ocean. So it is covering 5 countries, African countries, and it is a very diverse biodiversity is there throughout the bank of this river. So the river is called even the life river. The Zambezi River is called the life river of Africa. Anyway, so I'm just not going in detail. So this is one of the picture of Great Migration. So the real migration picture, all the dramatic pictures of Great Migration you must have seen in internet is through Mara River. But this particular frame is the migration through Sand River. The migration altogether, there are 39 crossings are there throughout their the migration circle. There are 39 river crossings, and the Mara River crossing is the most famous because that is the most dangerous, and most of the death it is happening in the Mara River crossing. That is the reason that is more highlighted. Otherwise, throughout their the migration cycle, they cross 39 rivers. So this is one of the river. Again it is.
Yeah, we got
remaining
just
time
2 minutes.
Too.
So let's see, Dr. Ranjit, I just need to relog in, or
yeah, just once the session is over, it'll switch off, and then you just have to relog in with the same credentials.
Okay.
Libin, I am really worried. I am going very slow.
No problem.
Because I think I'm talking.
No, Sumesh,
you are explaining it very rightly.
It's very interesting. We are enjoying, so you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Taking us through a nice journey, and it's pretty gripping also. So please go ahead. You're doing well.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just trying to explain myself. I'm just revealing myself. I was there.
In particular, me, I can just sit with this session throughout the whole day today and tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Wildlife is my passion.
Thank you very much. And so it is about to.
Yeah, I think just few minutes.
That is the reason why I'm not flipping to next image. See, this is all about that. The Great Migration. Like the Great Migration, you can see a lot of documents and videos you can explore in YouTube and internet. So altogether, this is a miracle. So there are a lot of complete life cycle you can see between them. The small calf to the oldest wild the beast you can see in the group. So it's a majestic or very splendid frames you can get. I think it's only 20 seconds. That's why I am not